WUWA has finally released their most awaited or most controversial patch ever, which is the version 3.3 and also the second anniversary. Now this second anniversary celebration, I already make a separate video on it, that what kind of rewards and what kind of character and rerun character are going to be provided into this patch. If you haven't even checked it out, you can even check it out by go through my channel. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is the community was divided when the live stream was happening in the second anniversary, and they were thinking that the rewards are very much of a low because the raw pool, which is not even including the events pool, because if you just including the events pool, it will just totally going to goes up to 100 plus pools. But if you just totally exclude those all of those event and also story pools and also map clear pools, I guess they will just give you almost like a 30 to 40ish pool, so which was not even enough to get a character with a guaranteed. If you are a regular player who really pull for each and every character, especially the Sigriga, and also if you don't even have the Lina and Morny, which is a very much of a one of those like a top tier character, then I guess you might not even have the enough pool to get the Hiyuki, which is totally depressing the player base and thinking that the rewards were not low. But the most of the player who really think rationally, they just totally give them a total of estimation that how much pool they could even get. But that estimation is only will happen if you do the map clear and also if you just play the game properly with and also clear the events within a remaining time. That's the main thing. But in here I'm not going to talk about any more further about the controversy what was happening in between those days before the release of this anniversary. So in here I'm going to talk about our new character release of this first phase of this banner of this anniversary, which is none other than the Hiyuki, and alongside with her there was a two rerun character, which is a Morny, and you know those two characters phenomenally good. If you don't even have a shorekeeper, Morny is going to be the best choice. Even to my case, I guess Morny is even better than the shorekeeper. She just totally adds way too much value what shorekeeper could not even add to your account. Another thing is the Yuno is totally best in slot support for your Agosta, and Agosta is not even having a good time right now because the power creep is very much of a high. Consider if you just totally compare to Agosta with the recent characters such as the Hiyuki and also the Amath. So getting her right now, she now does not only buff the Agosta, she also can also buff some other characters, and she can even jack of all trade but master of none, that kind of things. But Morny is a jack of all trade and she does not even do a huge amount of damage. What does she do? She is a sustain character and she just totally destroy that troll each and every perfect moment. That's the main thing. And other thing is that in this video I'm going to talk about that our new character, which is the Hiyuki, an anniversary character, where she is even placed into this current meta, and is she is even a good character or should you even pull for her or not. So for this reason I'm going to use the Pride.gg, which is the most reliable website when it comes to doing this kind of tier list. But it is also one of the like a controversial site. When they just totally imply some opinion to a certain games, it creates a very much of a controversy to that particular game community, and WUWA is non different. So when it comes to the Hiyuki placement, also other whoever's games, because they are not only cover the WUWA, they also cover alongside WUWA and also other 13 games, and in those 13 games whoever's games are also there, which is HS and also Xenozone 0. So when they give their opinion on a certain character on a certain gacha game, it is totally create a controversy and ruckus between the community. So please don't take their opinion seriously, take it as a grain of salt, and you can consider it as a fun way. That's it. So in this tier list, as you can see, there is a version 3.3. Let's see, having this Hiyuki on a server, is any character are affecting or not, and is she is even a must pull character? Because in our previous banner where the anniversary character was the Zani, and she was considered one of those like a must pull character, but every anniversary character should not even have to be must pull, but they are always considered as a must pull character because they are the celebration character of their first anniversary for a certain games. Anyway, I'm not going to talk anymore further, already have too much. So let's see where she just totally placed into this kind of matter. Is she is even a good or not? We said I'm not going to touch any of those like a points, because if I just touch any of them, it just totally going to spoil us that where she is going to be belong. So let's move on to it. Okay, for the Tower of Adversity, so this is one of the like a tier list website where if you just somehow move your cursor to a certain icon of a certain characters, I guess you don't even have to do a manually to see that which types of endgame moods they are better. Just having on a one site, which is a Tower of Adversity, is going to be enough, and you can even know that where the character belong in a whimpering ways, not even going there. That's the main thing. So let's see. Okay, for the tier 0, which is the Apex tier, they are totally a dominant tier. They don't even heavily reliant on a meta. They don't even rely on a meta buff to provide a huge amount of value to a certain endgame mode, so they are the apex tier, you have to remember that. And as you can see that Hiyuki is totally as a apex tier character on her initial phase, which is actually pretty much interesting to see that, because she is a glacier character. And when the Zani was released in our previous anniversary, which is the first anniversary, she does already have her best in slot teammate, which is a consist of a shorekeeper and also the Phoebe and also the Zani. Phoebe was the must for her, because without Phoebe she cannot even just do the fragile damage, which is the main damage source for her, and also whole over her key gameplay kit is totally removing the fragile kit. But in here for the Hiyuki case, she does not even have any of those like a perfect support character, but she does have a one of those like a perfect team, which is consist of what's the name of her again? Yes, Linai, and also consist of Chisa. Well, because she does have some kind of like a negative status on her kit, which I already saw in a beta testing, and also some beta leakers. So as you can see that only the one character in this WUWA who does have this kind of negative status buff and also negative status kind of like things. So I guess she is going to be the best pair for her. And the second slot, which is sub DPS Lina, I guess she's also good one, because she's not even only the good one for the Hiyuki, she is basically good for each and every other character, because currently WUWA does have a wheelchair team which is consist of Elena and Morni, and any of those like a DPS character, these two character can even make them perfect and also do a huge number of damage. Because if you do have a perfect status, and also if you do have their signature weapon in those both between those characters, you could even get 98% all types of damage bonus buff, which is actually pretty much of a high, almost 100%, not actually almost, it is a 100% damage bonus. Anyway, for the list, the other things are not even changed that much, all the things are totally remain from their previous position. And the Chisa is totally remain to our watch list, I guess, of course, because as you already know that Hiyuki is the first character who does have also a negative status things aside from the Chisa. So Chisa put into the watch list, and after so many testing, I guess they are going to move her up into the tier 0 in future. For the tier 1, oh man, Carlotta, damn, this character almost 2 year old and she's still up to the tier 1 in a glacier DPS, which is actually pretty much of a interesting to see that. Anyway, other character which is a Zani, for our previous first anniversary character, after so many power cube characters comes along, which is the Sigrika, Amath, and also the Frolova, Karthetia, she still belongs to tier 1, and I am also using her back and forth each and every endgame mode whenever I can see of a use of her. Rover Aero version is also moving from the tier 0 to tier 1. Of course, this was tend to happen because as you already know that Karthetia and also the Chichiona and Rover Aero, those two characters are totally a package of teammate. If any of those character moves down, this character also going to be the moves down, because Chichiona does not even provide any of those value aside from the Karthetia team, because her kit is revolving around the reducing the aero resistance towards the enemy. So as you can see that if you just use her on a pyro team, she's just going to reduce the aero resistance, but the pyro teams really require the pyro resistance to reduce to deal the more damage. So as a normal case, she does not even hold any kind of candle aside from the Karthetia team. Same goes for the Aero Rover, which is the erosion, and erosion is the main thing for the Karthetia to deal more damage, and her kit is totally revolving on that part. So if the Karthetia and also if Karthetia and alongside with the erosion team is not even meta, this Aero Rover is also going to be the not meta as well. So they are totally lowering them down. But when the meta is going to be relevant for them, I guess Aero Rover is going to be up in no matter what. Okay, tier 1.5 other characters are totally remain to this position. So I guess having the Hiyuki onto this current server of this game, I guess nothing has been changed pretty much of it drastically, but it could be changed after like a 1 week or 2 week later. You might even see so many characters are going down, because when the Tower of Adversity and upcoming recent end games are going to be shield towards this new character to sell their boost, I guess the other characters are not going to be the same position as you are seeing it right now. Anyway, let's see what kind of review they are providing for the Hiyuki, and there's the pros that what kind of benefit that you having her, and also it is the cons that what kind of disadvantage just having her, and also which is the very much of a bad things to be known in a beforehand. For the pros case, the first point is going to be the best glacier DPS by a huge margin in the best team, literally no competition since Carlotta. Okay, Carlotta was the very much of our previous queen for the glacier, and she is just totally dethroned by the what's the name again? Yes, Hiyuki. And that was this is not even something like a surprising things. It was tend to happen. Every new and shiny toys is going to be the better than their previous version. big AoE hits spread across her rotation alongside grouping gives her a pretty good multi-wave capabilities despite being a negative status character. So as I already mentioned before, just having a negative status character, which is the second character in this Wuthering game after the Chisa release, so she does even have the on her place on a Chisa team, and currently Chisa does have a moment to shine in this current meta, or you can say the upcoming meta, because before the release of a Hiyuki there was no other character who does have this kind of negative status, and she was very much a very restricted one to use it. Okay, so for the third point, which is the final point, after her long animation pause in games, timers are at least grant in vulnerability, meaning she does not even have a windows where she is especially vulnerable. Dodging is almost always an option in a worst case scenario. So as you can see that when she just goes to her ultimate stage, because in those ultimate stage she just totally change into her form is totally going to a white glacier types and things. If I just give you a closest example, which is going to be the Rukia from the Bleach, Rukia's Bankai is also change her appearance where her black hair totally turns into a white. That kind of things are also is happening for the Hiyuki's case as well. As so when she just goes into her enhance or like ultimate stage, she is also going to be the vulnerable, and the things that they mention is that dodging is almost always an options. Of course, if you don't even do the dodge damage, then the basic or enhanced attack is not going to be the proc there, so you are going to lose so many damage in that moment. Anyway, for the cons, which is going to be the very few alternative teams, Lina and Chisa are both huge power ups that lock Hiyuki's full potential, although Chisa is a replaceable by the Morning, and if Lina is present, that's the only replacement comparable her best team by a lot. Overall, not the most friendly damage dealer ever released. Okay, damn man, damn, she is also facing the same issue what the same thing was happening with our, what's the name again, yes, Zani. If you just somehow use her Zani with the Spectre Rover with a Shorekeeper, I guess it could work. There are some other YouTubers who were already proving that point, that if you don't even have a FV on your account on a Zani, then I guess if you don't even have a FV on a Zani teams, I guess you could even do a work with the alternate team, which is consist of a Spectre Rover, Shorekeeper and also the Zani. But that team is not even optimal, because the fragile things which is actually needed Zani to do a basic attack, enhanced attack, and also her ultimate duration are going to be up fast, and she can do more damage. That was the main of her gameplay, and that is the only thing can be fixable if you just somehow have a Phoebe, because Phoebe just gives you an enormous amount of fragile spectro, which is the main thing to improvise the Zani kit, and also Zani can even deal higher amount of damage with her enhanced attack, much longer duration time of her ultimate. So for a Hiyuki's case, most of the people are thinking that Hiyuki does going to have her best in slot support character in future, because she is not even having a best in slot support character aside from the Chisa. But as you can see that they already mentioned that Chisa can be replaceable by the Morning and also Shorekeeper. So as a negative status character, both of them are not even synergized and not even must have, which is actually pretty much of a sad to know that, because I already invested on a Chisa, also got her and also got her signature weapon, build her properly, and as after just knowing that Chisa is not going to be the best in slot despite being a negative status character, both of them, I guess it is actually truly heartbreaking. And the thing is they totally mention is she is not even F2 friendly, of course, because the second point is are going to prove you that point again, which is weapon alternates are lacking as well as, but F2 options works fine on her. Signature is a notable yet escapable upgrade compatibility to premium teammates. Okay, so the thing that I mentioned in here is that if you don't even have a Lina, Chisa and also the Morning, I guess you are going to suffer more if you just don't even have the signature weapon. That's the main thing they are totally comparing the thing. So the team requirement is much higher than the having her signature weapon, because the other alternate option which you can even have just having the standard weapon but for the version 1.0 where the crit rate is existent, that kind of signature sword weapon are going to be very much of an alternate option instead of a signature weapon. So I guess having her best in slot teammate is going to be the much more needed, and that's the main thing. Okay man, that was a spicy one. I thought that she was going to be the F2B character, but they are just totally running the same thing what the Zani was facing in her first anniversary. Okay, for the gameplay and teams, they already mentioned the best team is always going to be the Lina and also the Chisa, but they do have alternate options, so she is not even the must-have despite being a negative status character. Damn it, this is actually very much of heartbreaking to see that. For the alternative mates, Yen Lin, oh man, I guess it is win 2 years that they just mentioned Yenlin on some recent teams. Oh man, this is some like a spicy hot takes. Okay, I'm not going to say anymore that build things are already okay because the Frostburn, which is 100%, and also the Emerald of Genesis, which is also consist of a crit rate. Both weapons are crit rate weapons, but the thing is the difference is a 17%, which is not actually huge, but the passive which the signature weapon can give you, which is actually massive. So having her signature weapon is also going to be boost your account if you do have her premium team. But if you don't even have her, I guess just save for the banners, save for these characters banners to rerun and also get them. That's the main thing I would suggest you currently right now. But having her signature weapon also going to be the boost for this moment. Okay, other than that, nothing changed that much. All I wanted to say is that Hiyuki is a good character, but the way the review section is telling us, I guess, damn man, she is also facing the same issue what Zani was facing on her debut banner, which is the first anniversary character. But aside from that, as you can see that she is a control gatherer, which is a very much of a good thing for the Whimpering West, where the huge amount of horde enemy, or you can say the multi-wave of enemy will be coming up. And if you do have a character who can even crowd CC to these enemies, I guess that character is going to be the perfect for the Whimpering West. And as a control gatherer, they just make her a tier 1 Whimpering West. I guess they are totally making her into a watch list for this endgame mode, because in this game there is a 2 endgame mode, Tower of Adversity and Whimpering West. They just both shuffle between and also give us one at a time. So that's just totally putting her a lot of test and see that where she just going to be belong. Is she is going to be the very much of a good Whimpering West character or not? But one thing is for sure, all I wanted to say is that if you really want to have a good times in a Whimpering West without having to rely on a meta characters, that is that character is going to be the powerful or not, I guess Frolova is also going to be the much more broken character, because this character is very much of a good for the Tower of Adversity as well as the Whimpering West too. But other character, which is Sigrika, she was considered as a bait banner, but after this update she is also considered as a tier 0 in both endgame mode. Damn, this is actually good as a character, which is also, I'm not going to defend the Sigrika, because Sigrika is also one of those like a same facing the same situation what the Hiyuki is, because she cannot even perform well without the Julian. If you don't even have a Julian, she's also a dogshit character. But for the Hiyuki's case, I'm not saying she's a dogshit character, but if you just somehow have a good sustainable or alternate options, such as the what's the name again, is there any of those character which is good one for her for F2P options? If you do have a option of another standard for 5-star character, which is the Jian Shin, I guess that sub DPS role can be replaceable, but it is not even that of a good one, which the Lina does, because Lina just gives you a 44 warp amount of all types of damage bonus, which is actually huge, man. So that's the whole of a verdict of her initial phase. I guess when the best in slot character of her element time, which is a Glacier, we're going to be released, she's going to be the top tier each and every endgame mode. Just like the Amath, she's lacking her best in slot teammate. People are thinking that her best in slot teammate is totally based on Lina and Morny. Lina in Morny is not even considered a Amath best in slot. They are the best in slot for this whole over game. That's why I already mentioned them is a wheelchair teammate. If you just somehow slap those two characters in any teams, that team is going to be the wheelchair one. So for the Amath case, I guess she's waiting for her dedicated support character, which is going to be our upcoming character Denia, because Denia's kit is totally revolving around your mostly universal, but another side of her part is also going to be very much of a good for the fusion character, because she's just totally reduced a 45% pyro, or you can say the fusion resistance towards enemy, which is actually going to be very much of a highly damage boost for our Amath. And I guess in that time Amath is going to be a tier 0 for the Whimpering West. Now this game has been totally in a stage. If you don't even have that particular character with their best in slot teammates, with their best in slot signature weapon, I guess you cannot even do that. But most of the people of this community are White Knight. They just totally bash on the other games, not to talk about their own games. And of course, tribalism is everywhere there. I'm not going to talk it about anymore further. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you have any kind of comments regarding her position into this tier list, and also comments on my own opinion, feel free to leave under the comment section, and see you on the next video. Peace.